All right, here is the video on distributive property, because we're going to distribute some stuff. So hopefully everyone can read this. I left my fancy, thicker marker pens at school. So let's see if this works. So distributive property. Since we're off, we might as well learn something new too. All right, everyone. Okay, so distributive property involves distributing. So distributing this is about where Addison would be like, Miss, you're blocking the screen. Distributing is multiplying a number or term. Term is something like x, 3x, 5. It could be a lot of things. Number of term outside of parentheses. That's these guys. By each term inside. This is important. So you're multiplying a number or term outside of the parentheses by each term inside parentheses. It's a way to kind of expand out an equation so that it's easier to deal with, right? So what does that mean? So let's say that we have something like this. X, and then inside of parentheses, y plus z. Remember, when you have two things next to each other, it means you're multiplying. This is x multiplied by y plus z, right? Because they're next to each other. So there's a hidden, invisible little multiplication right here. And we're going to see how that plays out with distribution. So with distribution, we are taking the term outside of the parentheses and multiplying it by each term in the parentheses. So let's start with x times y. So the y is inside the parentheses, so you do x times y. So xy. And then there's a plus sign, so you put this plus here. And then you got to multiply x times z. So then it's going to be x z. It's really that simple. So x times y plus z equals x times y plus x times z. And this can play out no matter how many terms there are inside of the parentheses. So for example, let's have x times, let's say a plus b plus c. So we're going to do each of those. X times a equals xa. There's a plus sign here, so x times a plus x times b. Okay, there's another plus sign, so plus, oh, I forgot to change it back to black. Oh, well, whatever. X times c. I wonder if y'all can even see the colors with this camera. You can see red, but well. So there's three terms inside, and there's plus sign, so x times a plus x times b plus x times c. Right? All right, so what happens if we have minus signs inside of the parentheses? So let's say we had something like x parentheses y minus z. Well, as you would probably be able to guess, the only difference is that we change this plus sign here to a minus. So this would be do x times y and then x times z. All right, so the way that would play out is x times y minus x times z. Right? So again, if we have that longer one with the 3 terms or more, however many terms inside, so A plus B plus C plus D, let's say, it would have been XA plus XB plus XC plus XD. However, if we change all of those to minuses, it would be X times A minus X times B minus X times C minus X times D. So let's try and kind of, right, where we have a plus, but we also have some minuses. You just need to follow the exact order. Okay, in that order. X times A plus X times B minus X times C minus X times D. Okay, so you just have to make sure you follow in the exact order. So how does that look inside of an equation that you've got to solve, right? Well, let's have an example. So here's an example of an equation you might solve that has distributive property in it. And you'll see that it's not very different from what we've already been doing with equations. So let's say we have an equation 2 parentheses, x plus 5 is equal to 2 times 3x plus 7. Yeah, so that's what we got. So let us first use distributive property because we can't solve it or do anything with it until we distribute everything. So let's distribute the left first. We have 2 times x and then 2 times 5, right? So that turns into 2 times x plus 2 times 5, which is, we'll get to that in a second. And then we do the other side. So the other side, 2 times 3x plus 2 times 7. 2 times 3x plus 2 times 7. Well, 2 times x is easy. We can just leave that alone. 2 times 5 is 10. So right on the left side, we've got 2x plus 10 equals. All right, 2 times 3x is a little bit tricky. Not really. Well, the 2, you can't multiply it by the x because 2 and x are kind of two different things. So really all you're doing is you're doing 2 times 3 and then slapping an x on it. So 2 times 3 gives us 6. And then we just put the x right there. Or if you want to think about it as this is the same as if we were doing 3x plus 3x, right? Because there's two 3x's. This is 1, this is 2. That's why we end up with 6x, okay? So we're taking 3x as a unit and multiplying it by 2. And we have 2 of them, that just makes 6x. The x doesn't get multiplied, it just stays as x. Okay, so we've got 6x plus 2 times 7, which is 14. Okay, now this looks like something that we're more used to. We can draw our line down, which that's always our step, and solve it. Okay, so first step, combine like terms. There's no like terms to combine, so we're just going to leave that alone. Second step is we want to get our variables together. Our variable here is x. Remember, we want to either add the big numbers or subtract the small numbers. In this case, since both of these are positive, we would be subtracting. And 2x is a smaller number. So we're going to subtract 2x from both sides in order to keep everything positive. This is 0. That goes away. So that leaves us with 10 here. 6x minus 2x is the same. It's just 6 minus 2, which is 4x. And we still have that 14 that we didn't do anything with, so we carry that 14 down like that. So that was our next step. that was our step to combine the variables, get our variables together. Now we're going to get our constants together. Remember, constant is just a fancy word for a number that doesn't have a letter attached to it. 10 is already by itself, so we do not want to move or touch this 10 at all, okay? We'll move this 14 over. So since this is a positive 14, we're going to move it over by subtraction, because that's the opposite. Remember, opposite operations. 14 minus 14 is 0. That goes away, leaving us with 4x on the right. 10 minus 14 is going to be a negative number because 14 is bigger than 10. So 10 minus 14, Joseph, I'm sure you know what it is. 10 minus 14 is negative 4. So we have negative 4 equals 4x. So then that leaves us with our very last step, which is always to divide. We want to divide by the coefficient on the x so that we can get x by itself, right? So that's 4. So we're going to divide both sides by 4. Hopefully this is not something that we need our calculators for. This 4 divided by 4 is 1, so that just leaves us with a 1x. We don't have to put 1 there, so just x. Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. So our answer is x equals negative 1. Right? And so really that's all there is to it. Not everything in your assignment is necessarily going to have distributive property, but now you know how to do it. So when you have an equation that does require you to use distributive property, you can do it. All right. If you have any questions, just feel free to drop me a line on Google Classroom or send me a text as usual. See you guys in the next video.